Okay, we're ready.
Okay. We are calling to order here at 6:07. Our apologies for being a few minutes behind schedule here. 6:07 p.m. on May 20th, 2026. The LCCA mission is to train the minds and improve the hearts of young people through a content-rich classical education in the liberal arts and sciences with instruction in the principles of moral character and civic virtue. I call this meeting of Lake Country Classical Academy to order, like I just said, at 6:07, and in accordance with Wisconsin Open Meetings Law, the required public notice of this meeting ran in the Saturday, May
18th.
14th.
No, that's the one coming up. 14th. Yep.
May 14th. Okay. May 14th. Issue of the Waukesha Freeman and was posted on the LCCA website and the front entry doors at both of the school campuses, correct? And I already did the mission. I'm sorry I'm out of order here. I switched those two around. But with that, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attendance. We want to take attendance and show that all board members are present with the exception of President Skylar File, and Ellen Nowak is on the phone. All right, agenda minutes. I haven't looked at the minutes yet. Have you looked at the minutes? That's my fault. We want to.
You can table that one for next time if you want to approve them next time. When you've had a chance to look at them.
Is that fine? Do you have a problem with that? Ellen, do you have a problem with that?
She can't talk.
Yeah, she's on mute. But you can unmute her.
She'll be good.
Okay. Well, then we're going to do that as long as there's no objection. I don't think we've had a time where we've actually approved the minutes in the correct order yet for a while, so I'm going to take the privilege to do that for our next meeting, so I'd like to table that. So then,
Show me the closed session summary.
Oh, absolutely. I was actually going to talk about that.
Oh,
so we had, since our last meeting, we had two meetings for anyone who was, if you were here at the April board meeting, we called a special meeting in between that meeting and this meeting that was held on May 4th or May 5th.
May 4th, yeah.
So I just wanted to let you all know that that did occur. And that meeting, it was a Monday. It was in the evening. I believe it lasted 3.5 hours. And 10:30, yeah, it was very, very late. And it was primarily done in closed session. But when we came back into open session and we did the motion and took the 2 votes, we regrettably did not come back in. Well, there was I had technical issues. I wasn't able to log into that second meeting for whatever reason, and then I had 2 phone calls drop, and it was a little bit of a nightmare. But typically when we move back into open session after a closed session, we will kind of recap to give you some framework and some context as to what occurred so that you're not left wondering, which I know many of you were, because we didn't do that. So I want to apologize on behalf of the board that I myself didn't do it, but I was gonna do it tonight so that you knew, so we can at least, because I know we've been inundated with calls and questions and concerns, and that we don't want to breed that atmosphere. So, but actually, since I just learned not too long ago that I had to chair tonight's meeting, and I was not really aware that I needed to do that. Maybe Reese, if you were still president at the time, you could just you have a much better way about being precise and encapsulating what what occurred.
Skylar's letter, I think, addresses that to some degree as well.
Okay. Yeah, so and I know the other thing too, that Georgia didn't mention was that, John had requested that we have the discussion about the executive director in open session, which we didn't necessarily need to do, and what we had decided at the time was that we would just do a summary in open session and just describe, high level what happened in the closed session. So I just took a few notes here so I can share with you, what we intended to share with you on Monday. So two disparate views formed on whether action should be taken regarding John Wu and the executive director position at this meeting. The ultimate prevailing action was to terminate John's employment without cause, effective immediately, which triggered an 8-week notice period and subsequent payout of the remainder of John's contract in accordance with its terms. So the counter proposal that did not pass, that was discussed for potential action, was to allow for a short period of time where John could talk with our new head principal and determine whether there was a continued role for John at LCCA, and if so, what that role would be. So the underlying rationale for that proposal was as follows. One, John had already publicly indicated at the April meeting that he was willing to cede control to the head principal, so who was in control was not an issue. Two, LCCA would need to pay John for the remainder of his contract, whether he was working at LCCA or not. So why not put his talents to use for the remainder of the year in term of his contract? He indicated an interest in staying in our new head principal and expressed an openness to working with John. Three, giving John 8 weeks notice meant that he maintained full decision-making authority until July 1st anyway, even if we terminated his employment without cause. Since he said at the April board meeting he was willing to give up control to the new head principal, why not first try to amend his contract duties in a way that could avoid triggering a large payout or retaining his services for the remainder of the year. Four, we had just completed a successful gala the week before. How would it look to give back half of the profits from the gala to volunteers that busted their tails to make it happen, or donors that generously contributed? Five, the end of the school year was only 2 weeks away. Why not use the summer months to see if John and the new head principal could work well together and engineer a smooth and clear transition? If it wasn't working out as hoped, we could simply cut ties with John at the end of summer. So worst case was that the cost of paying out John's contract would be lower at that point, and LCCA would benefit from several more months of John's services. And if there were any faculty members that perhaps resented John's continued presence since it was summer, they wouldn't be around to see him anyway. And six, unnecessarily spending a significant sum of money to remove an employee without cause that all agreed had talents to contribute. It was felt was a poor use of school funds and would likely give pause to future donors. But the bottom line here is the board has a one-voice policy, and that means that all board members should state their opinions, but once a decision is made, the board must speak with one voice, whether certain members agree with a decision or not. So the decision has been made by the board, and we need to abide by our policy and speak with one voice going forward.
Good summary, thank you. Okay. We will go into the public comment period now, right? No, we're gonna do the president's report. Right? You gotta help me out here.
I think public comment is next on the agenda unless you want to alter it. Is that correct, Matthew? Public comments is next.
Oh, no, it's down at the bottom, sorry about that, okay. Okay, yes, so we will move into the public comment period. If you would like to speak, there are forms for anyone who's unaware that you can fill out, and we do limit speaking times to 3 minutes a person. And we ask that you speak kindly and respectfully without profanity and, excitement and things like that. But you wanna do the call-in?
Yeah, I'm gonna set a timer just so everybody knows in the 3 minutes. And try and abide by it just to make sure if one person goes beyond that, others aren't feeling left out. So first, Erica Urban.
Hi, I'm Erica Urban. I had no intention of coming tonight, but I just wanted to publicly thank John Wu for his time. One thing that really stood out to me, coming from a parent that's been around since before the school opened, I actually cleaned these windows before the school actually opened in this classroom. We were heard by John Wu. We were heard by Randy. The parents, whether they agreed or didn't agree, never once did I feel silenced as a parent who drives 2 hours a day for 5 years straight. I have never been silenced by these two gentlemen. And I want to thank you for taking time out of even normal days to listen to people, even when they don't agree with you and you don't agree with them. You would take that information, and I really, really appreciate that. So I did not listen to the last board meeting that they ended up getting rid of you. I think that that is unacceptable, but my opinion does not necessarily matter. Like you said, it is a board decision. It's a one voice. But I am going to let you know that I did hear that a few of the board members switched their attitude, and it seems like Hillsdale is creeping in there. I'm going to tell you what Hillsdale does not do. They do not volunteer in our classrooms. They do not drive the children here. They do not spend time in money volunteering in here, helping out for these children. They are not raising our kids. I encourage the board to have somebody on the board that has children that can hear the inside of what's going on. You have children, you do not bring them here, you do not know what is going on in the school. Hillsdale does not either. They don't care. They do not care. So that is something that if you start changing your mind over stuff because of Hillsdale, that looks really, really ugly to some of the parents. So I'm getting off track there. I just want to let you know that this will be the last time that I'm attending a board meeting. It has been a fun run, but after 5 years, our family is moving on, and there are people who are joyous over that, but I want you to know that we wholeheartedly plan on having our children graduate from this school, and what's happening right now feels like history is repeating itself when we were told to sit down and shut up again. So the people that were willing to listen to us are no longer able to listen to us. So this decision is coming from, nobody wins in this situation. Nobody won. This is just, it's a really sad situation, but in 2 days we're leaving LCCA, and I'm taking 4 children with, so.
Thank you.
Dave Berserk. My name is Dave Berserk. I teach math at the upper school. I'm a member of Emergency Response Team, the Vision Committee, and CETUS House Dean. I have a father of 3 children who attend LCCA. I tell you this to show you the level of commitment I have to LCCA. So when I tell you that over the past few months I've been dealing with the heart-wrenching decision to possibly leave LCCA, I hope that you listen. A few months ago, along with 75% of the teachers and staff, I signed a vote of no confidence in Randy Godsell. Randy replied to our teachers through an email. As a result of his email, as insulting as his email was, and even though I knew enough information to sign the letter with confidence, I did as he requested. In short, be more open. I first spent about a week of prayer, doing my best to place myself in an unbiased mindset to examine whether my vote of no confidence in Randy should remain. Once I was ready to review evidence without previous biases, I collected all the material I could to study Randy. After reading pages and pages of material from several different resources, I emailed the board and said my name needed to remain. At this time, I began to ask myself, how can I stay? Not that I want to leave LCC, but really questioning, how can I stay? Not long after this, a group of parents became informed of what teachers saw and evidence showed. Even more evidence poured in to confirm what I already knew, but now the evidence included Mr. Wu. I then signed another letter of no confidence in Randy Godsell. How can I stay at LCCA? Less than a year ago, this was not even a thought of mine, but now the question has become an agonizing, tear-filled question. How can I remain at a school that places moral character and civic virtue as a major part of its mission statement, yet is being run by 2 men who seem to have little of either? It seems hypocritical to teach at a school where its leadership, Wu and Godsell, can't model what we teach. Honesty, courage, responsibility, respect, and wisdom are just words when leadership blatantly disregards their own virtue code. How can I stay? Though I do not represent 75% of the teachers, I know that I am not the only teacher that has been asking the same question. Some teachers have already determined they will not return next year. Some have decided that they will leave as soon as a job opens for them. I understand, and I wish them well. It was not until recently that I have determined that I would stay at LCCA. I did not choose this because of a new principal, though I pray he does well and I will support him. I have concluded that I can stay because I believe God is not done with me yet at LCCA. And I have a desire to follow his will. I can stay for my own children, nephews, and amazing students and staff. I can stay because I still have hope that LCCA will succeed and return to the vision that so many teachers signed up for. Randy and John, this is going to hurt, guys, but it's honesty. Randy and John have failed to follow sound judgment and reasoning and have shown little to no remorse. Any success that LCC has is not the result of them, but in spite of them, and credited in part to the board members who have taken the necessary steps to right the ship. Thank you. I know who you are. Thank you. Let this be a warning to us all, parents, teachers, administration, board members, and staff. If we can't humbly live the very virtues we teach and admit when we fail to do so, then we are just hypocrites, and we either need to leave LCCA or LCCA needs to change its mission statement.
Thank you.
All right, Karen Sharkey.
John and his family were here in year one. They were here when the school was started and when the original vision of the school was cast. They have gotten to know the families of the community and have been a part of the heart and soul of LCCA. When an opportunity arose for their family to spend a year in Portugal, they went so their kids could have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity at the right moment. However, during that time, the already struggling situation at LCCA worsened, and they heeded the call to mobilize and come back to help, knowing that John possessed certain skills and expertise that were vital to the long-term success of the school. They had their children's private education paid for, their apartment paid for the duration of the year, and all of it was non-refundable. And yet they packed up their bags within a week's time, were back in Wisconsin among us, working toward the success of the school. John took this job at a mere $80,000 per year, not even enough to cover the amount of money they sacrificed in the coming. They chose to enroll their kids in the school here, rather than at Brookfield Academy or anywhere else, because they knew the importance of getting in the nitty-gritty and really understanding the situation, listening to everyone involved, regardless of their opinions or even of the vitriol of others, because they wanted to actually help. Unfortunately, John hardly had a chance to even really do his job due to the constant drama stirred up by staff and the demands of Katie O'Toole. But still, in a mere 3 months, even with everything spinning around him, John Wu has been the first and only person in administration within the last 5 years to meet with every single teacher one-on-one, maintain an open door policy, make his personal cell phone number available and accessible to the public, welcome every kind of criticism and feedback, listen to parents and staff without partiality or ulterior motives, survey staff and families, hold town halls, find ways within the budget to give teachers what they wanted, namely annotated books for their students, give teachers a raise, and strive to progress LCCA forward into a bright and innovative future while maintaining classical integrity and genuine virtue rather than just lip service to it. He and his family have not once complained of the sacrifices made, but rather have always looked forward with vision as the foundation and kids at the heart of all they do. I would like to ask each of the board members if they can count 15 teachers by name, 5 non-teaching staff by name. I would also ask if they could count 20 students from different families by name. I would like to ask if they have attended any events, non-board meeting or non-gala events involving interaction with parents or students. I would like to ask if any of them have their kids attending LCCA. I would like to ask if you would be willing to meet one-on-one with members of the staff and community before making decisions on their behalf that affect their daily lives. Personal, sacrificial investment happens because you really believe in a thing. Randy Godsell and John Wu, the two people who there has been a constant witch hunt against, are the only ones over the last 5 years who have been willing to sacrifice at all costs for the good of the community. If the answer to my questions is no, if you can't count 15 teachers by name, if you can't count 5 staff members by name, etc., then I believe respectfully that you have no business making decisions for this school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa Pluto.
Hi everybody, I'm Lisa Pluta and I have 3 sons here. And I just have a couple comments. I didn't prepare anything because I really wanted to hear a recap about what transpired. I am definitely confused why Mr. Wu was terminated after it seems that it was a agreed at that April meeting that he would onboard with the new principal. Logically, that makes sense. Unless there is something that we are unaware of that's hidden, undercover, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't make sense why that changed so quickly and in the dead of the night, essentially. So I feel like his skill set wasn't utilized to the best of its ability. We're paying for this. Was his energy poured into where it really mattered? I don't think so. Second thing, I was heavily involved with the gala. A couple of the volunteers are here. The parents and teachers that helped do this, so amazing, it was great. They did a recap meeting of the volunteers and we just kind of were asking for different opinions about what mattered. And the same thing that kept being brought up was that parents really desire to have this transparency when it comes to the finances of the school. And when you're petitioning for money and asking for it, like we, as all contributors of this, we want those funds to be stewarded well. And with this decision that the board made, my mind is blown. $50,000 and then some is gone. So if we had that April meeting and it was talked about that Mr. Wu could work in conjunction with the new principal, why didn't we just pause for a second, use some intelligence, sorry to say, and just kind of work through some of these things? And again, like with what Mr. Pazurek said, I'm concerned, like what is happening at the teacher level? Like what is happening that I'm just a simple mom who shows up every day for drop off and pickup? What is the underlying situation that is causing teachers to leave and so much discontent? Like this is concerning. I want this transparency. If I'm gonna send my kids to school here and tout of its amazingness and everything I believe in, I want the transparency. I want people to be utilizing their skill set. And I want people to be accountable for the decisions that they do make. And if we're being demanded by Hillsdale to do certain things, I love the Hillsdale model and everything, and so many of the people here do. But as we move forward, how can we merge in a way that is positive for the staff, the board, and the students? All while maintaining a level of fiscal responsibility that we owe taxpayers and ourselves and everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
To the second, Lisa.
I have a second left.
Yeah.
Wow.
1 second.
The horn was about to blow. Ada Yesek?
Good evening. My name is Ada Yatsik. I'm a former LCCA parent. Dave, you are amazing. Abby learned so much from you. I have kept tabs on LCCA since its founding. Early on, Bart Williams showed a servant heart. He took the time to hear parents' hopes and concerns and to bring on teachers who had the students' highest interests in mind. One of my children attended LCCA for a year and a half. I had high hopes that all of my children would attend LCCA and graduate high school here. LCCA, as with all the teachers, can do what I as a homeschool parent could not do on my own. Every family who has left LCCA has a story to tell. Families who are new to LCCA in the last couple of years do not know to what extent previous LCCA families have sacrificed, volunteered, contributed, and rooted for this school to succeed. Leaving has usually been because these families were shut out or had to seek out schools where their children could thrive due to extensive leadership concerns. Unfortunately for my boys, they would not have been able to thrive under the heavy-handed administration that was there, and the learning disability accommodations were not present. LCCA is at a crossroads once again. LCCA has two individuals once again who possess a heart of servant leaders who have poured in time and energy to move the school to where it can thrive once again. It is imperative for the board to remember the reason why John Wu was hired for the executive role, like a superintendent. To terminate him is to contradict the reason he was brought on in the first place. One of the primary responsibilities of LCCA board members is fiscal responsibility to taxpayers and the parents who choose to send their children to school here. Terminating John Wu would demonstrate a lack of fiscal responsibility. It is necessary for LCCA to recognize to what extent being a Hillsdale member benefits or does not benefit LCCA. When pressures from an outside affiliate organization are not in keeping with the goals of the school, the students, or the parents, that school does not need the affiliate partnership. Other member schools have become curriculum schools and have thrived. All of the curriculum is purchasable directly from original sources like Core Knowledge and IEW. I've done it myself. Let us remember once again the reason schools exist. Like Aristotle said, everything has a reason. Schools exist to serve children, and it is parents who make the decisions regarding where their children go to school. Conservative parents in southeast Wisconsin are not a renewable resource. Teachers are. New contracts can be written up, presumably. Different teachers can be hired if necessary. Word of mouth is still powerful. It was word of mouth that created the once 300+ wait list that has now significantly diminished. It is word of mouth that encourages young families to seek out schools where their children, their interests as parents are honored. Prior to the leadership of Ronnie Godsell and John Wu, LCCA had a track record of ignoring the concerns of parents and terminating board members who were LCCA parents. I would again consider LCCA for my children in the future if John Wu remains in the executive role, if Randy Godsell remains on the board, if the board members whose children attend other schools resign if their votes do not reflect the interest of LCCA students and parents, and if LCCA were a curriculum school not caving to the pressures of an affiliate organization when those affiliate organizations do not reflect the interests of the students and families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Sharkey.
I would like to express my strong disapproval of the board's course of action and decision made at the May 4th virtual closed session. John asked for the discussion to be held in open session. I believe it was a mistake for the entirety of the discussion to be closed to the public, as it leaves community members extremely distrustful, speculating about the actual reasons for his termination. One good guess I've heard is that Katie O'Toole is the one driving this decision. If this is the case, I see the beginning of history about to repeat itself. I would also like to remind each of the board members that the board is first and foremost a fiduciary body with a responsibility not to Hillsdale, but to the taxpayers. They have a responsibility toward prudent financial management of our limited school funds. And instead of paying John his contracted salary and getting his hard work and business expertise to advance the school and improve its processes and outcomes in return, the board decided to take that $50,000 and effectively throw it in the trash. John was willing to work with Don. Don was willing to work with John. And John said publicly he was willing to amend his contract. But instead of choosing to talk with John, showing respect, wisdom, courage, responsibility, and honesty, the core virtues the students of LCCA are told to abide by, the board decided to quickly, and I believe foolishly, terminate him without cause and waste his salary. There's no excuse for this waste of funds from a board whose first responsibility is to wisely steward the hard-earned money of the taxpayers which they serve. I'd like to see the rest of my time at Ethelwood. Thank you.
All right, Chris Goff.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Goff. I have a second and a fifth grader. I'll start on a lighter note. I gave flyers to the board. The TLC Spring Bash is tomorrow, and everybody's invited, but I give flyers to the board. It's tomorrow, the 21st, 3 to 6 p.m. at the Okachi Lions Club, which is the one down there. I have it on good authority that Mr. Shark may be in the area, so those with younger kids will know about that. All right, now to my prepared remarks. So first, I want to thank Randy for his service as board president. It's no secret here that I appreciate his leadership and his backbone. I also had some kind words for Skylar, wishing him well as the new president, but he's not here, so I'll try again next time. I have 3 questions for the board. I emailed them in advance, hoping for an answer today, but I understand that the new policy is not to respond in the moment. So I look forward to a response either at the next board meeting or in reply to my email. So my questions, just to get them out there publicly, my first question is, last year 5 board members voted to create the executive director role for reasons which have been stated and restated since then. And for what it's worth, I agree with those reasons, and I think they're important. A few weeks ago, 3 of those original 5 flipped their votes and terminated the position at the end of June. Was this because of threats and the coordinated pressure campaign, or did something substantive change? And I do appreciate Randy giving kind of the losing arguments justification. I'm looking at for that from the other side, from what was decided, which I think is probably more important because it's what was voted for. My second question is, did you approach Mr. Wu about amending his contract before you voted to terminate him? And my last question is, if the hiring of a head principal has any bearing on the elimination of the executive director role, is the head principal job description now different than the one that existed when you created the ED role? And so overall, I'm basically looking for a narrative justification of why the sudden reversal. So looking for basically the counterpoint to what Randy gave up front. So I look forward to a response either to my email or at the next board meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Autumn Young.
Hello, everyone. I'm Autumn Young. I'm a fourth grade teacher here. I'm also a parent of two, and then I'll have a third one here next year. I'm here to stand up and speak truth and reality, or at least my perspective of the truth and reality. There is a group of staff that does exist who appreciates and supports the executive director, Mr. Wu. We believe he accepted the position, moved from Portugal, and resettled here with his family to help the school during a challenging time. There are so many ways he has supported the school. He offered to meet with teachers and staff to discuss questions and concerns. He does have a pretty open door policy. He put his number out there. He executed regular and transparent communication with families. He extended sizable salary increases to teachers and staff. He encouraged unity through the Sentinel basketball game. He offered coffee and conversations for parents. He arranged town halls. He is advocating for rollover of unused PTO days for staff. He significantly supported the gala by being a speaker who casted a beautiful vision for the school. He financially offered a live auction item, so financially investing in the school, and he created and founded the inaugural Classic Scholars Grant. We believe the same sentiments apply to the efforts and actions of the current Vice President of the board, Georgia Maxwell. She spent a tremendous amount of time and energy to run the gala, and it raised nearly $150,000, a little bit less. But that is a lot of money for our students. That goes directly to our students. And someone of her caliber, who will soon be the Waukesha County clerk, she joined the school board and ran the gala in a matter of weeks because she wants to see the school succeed and thrive. We believe and are hopeful that the board has the best interests of the school, even with varying opinions and perspectives. We are hopeful for a strong collaboration between Mr. Wu and Dr. Gelster, and that it's possible to be a Hillsdale member school and set our school up for success, a successful transition for the future. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Coco.
My name is Coco Bowden. I'm a mom to a current first grader and incoming kindergartner. Sorry, I'm horrible at public speaking because I'm too emotional. Coco, I'll cry later. I want to express my deep concern and disappointment in the recent decision to terminate John Wu's role as executive director. A decision that now obligates the school to pay $50,000 as a result of the termination. As fiduciaries of the school, your responsibility is to make decisions in the best long-term interest of the institution. From the outside, this feels like a short-term decision made without a clear long-term plan. Regardless of differing opinions, the executive director had begun creating measurable progress, improving systems, uncovering lapses, and creating fundraising momentum. Now we appear to be back at square one with little to show for it except a $50,000 loss. As a parent who has invested a large amount of time and energy into supporting this school, this decision is especially painful. I helped lead and run the gala, dedicating countless hours that came at a personal sacrifice, including income I otherwise could have earned had I not committed the time to fundraising efforts for the benefit of the school. But I did so because I believed in the mission of this institution and trusted that the sacrifices being made by parents, volunteers, and donors were being honored with thoughtful leadership and responsible financial stewardship. Knowing that roughly 1/3 of the funds raised through those efforts could effectively be erased by a single decision makes it difficult to question whether or not those sacrifices mattered. Compounding this frustration is the school's history of raising funds for specific purposes and then failing to follow through on allocating those funds promised. In the past, some may have attributed those failures to personnel overseeing operations at the time. However, with that individual no longer involved in the school, it becomes increasingly clear that these issues cannot simply be attributed to one person. At some point, accountability rests with the board as a whole. when fundraising commitments are not honored and significant financial losses are accepted through avoidable decisions, it undermines donor confidence and erodes the very culture of trust the school claims it's trying to build. It is also difficult to reconcile repeated statements from certain board members about believing deeply in the mission and vision of the school, while simultaneously choosing not to enroll their own school-aged children here. Families who make sacrifices to attend, support, volunteer for, and financially sustain the school do so because they genuinely believe in its value. When leaders publicly champion the institution but privately choose otherwise for their own families, it inevitably raises questions about conviction, confidence, and alignment between words and actions. The school community has repeatedly heard that what we need most is culture and trust. Those things simply cannot be spoken into existence. They must be reinforced through decisions that demonstrate accountability, wisdom, transparency, and respect for the people who continue to pour their time, talent, and financial support into the school. I urge the board to reflect seriously on the message this decision sends to families, donors, volunteers, and staff. Rebuilding trust requires more than statements. It requires leadership that visibly prioritizes the school's mission, financial health, and community confidence in every major decision made.
Having trouble on the first name here, Garza, last name.
Shannon.
Sorry.
Good evening, my name is Shannon. I'm a mother to one child in 4th grade, and we have been here since the beginning of LCCA. I have seen my child grow above and beyond due to the love and support of LCCA teachers, support that I am confident he would not have received at any other school. I wanted to take time to thank John Wu and his family and his wife for all of his hard work and dedication. He has sacrificed a lot to take this position, and I am grateful for him. I also want to wish Tyler File well, and congratulations. Tonight I wanted to specifically address the topic of social media. LCCA has 2 different Facebook groups for all of the LCCA parents currently. I have seen too much allowance for poor behavior on social media from LCCA parents. Poor behavior that has left significant damage and division to LCCA. What type of guidelines could we consider putting in place for social media? How could we maintain the social media platforms to be positive and constructive platform and have restrictions from unconstructive and slanderous speech towards LCCA? Although social media is not the only platform for poor and decisive behavior, it is a good place to start putting in place boundaries.
Thank you.
Carrie Cruz.
I'm Carrie Cruz. I have 3 daughters here, and this is actually the first board meeting I've ever attended. I've come to the town hall meetings, and I thank you, John, for for making those. I haven't been a part of a lot of this, partly because of time, but the other part was just like, I'm very aware that there's so much drama that goes on in the school, and I started to equate what I understood of that the board meetings also equated drama. And I realized that that's not a good perspective because I want to make sure that my voice is heard too. Kind of like what Shenhua said, I'd like to see the board put something in place for some level of restrictions for the social media drama that is at the core of so many of the issues of our school. And this is coming from someone who has never once been to the Facebook page, apparently either of them. I don't know what is being said. I don't know the parents, so I'm saying that from a perspective of I'm not trying to attack anyone because I don't know all that's being said, but you hear bits and pieces, and my children and a lot of us, I'm living in the trajectory of the social media drama. And there is a gossip mob that is controlling this school. And the gossip mob, it's not necessarily a parent mob, a teacher mob, an administrative mob, but there's a gossip mob that is fracturing this school. And the reason I feel like I can say that with confidence from the outside looking in is because I went back and I watched the board meetings from the last several of them, and everything was so basic and good. I didn't hear anything of concern from Randy, from John, everything that they were saying, okay, Katie O'Toole said this, okay, we're gonna work with this and do this. Oh, now we changed it, now we're gonna do this. To me, there's a level of fracture there that is dangerously close to a dictatorship. That from someone watching just the basics, something is very fractured and wrong. And that has nothing to do with Hillsdale. That may have something to do with one leader there that is doing this. I don't know. I don't know Mr. Preserve, but I respect him just because he's willing to be a teacher here, and I believe him to be a good person. So when I hear him stand up with tears saying that he's concerned and there's parents, where did this begin? Because what I'm seeing from leadership, what I've seen, I'm not seeing those concerns. I think Randy has handled himself fabulous. I think John has handled himself fabulous. That tells me there is a gossip mob and feelings are not facts. And there are good people believing something that very well may not be true. I've never heard in the meetings anyone saying we're going to drop Hillsdale. No one said that. Everyone has said, hey, we're here to keep going with Hillsdale. So how did it become this big major ordeal? Where did it start? So something is wrong, and if we don't put in place, like she said, some level of security, like someone's got to manage these Facebook pages, posts. I don't know, but apparently I found out this week some people even post anonymously. How is that secure for our school? We have got to we are in a day and age where people get guns and they show up and one parent is mad at another parent's mad at. We can talk all about arming our security guard with guns. If you are not doing anything to disarm the fracture of the foundational level of what is going on at this school, it doesn't matter how many security guards we have. You guys have got to address whatever it is that's going on and make it a priority, because it is ruining people's lives, it is ruining parents, it is ruining teachers, it's ruining administrators. And I'm bold enough to stand up and say it because I'm looking at it from a common sense perspective. I can't say anything more than that. Do I know John? Who I do because of our daughters are friends. And you know what I can tell you? I haven't spent a ton of time with them, but the times I had, one time being at the park and the two of them stood there, they could have said anything they wanted about administration. They could have said anything they wanted about the school. You know what I heard? They were talking about being excited for the school, talking about what are there more field trips we could do? Are there different things? I watched character ooze from them, and it's shocking to me that people, my brain cannot comprehend. What have they done to deserve this? Where is it? And I do believe it comes back to some level of misinformation that has been touted as truth and has become the foundational fracture of this school. And please address it, or we're not going to have a school in the future. So thank you.
When you're on the roll, but I want to make sure we keep moving. Thank you. Desi Stapleton.
Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for doing this job. Randy and I do not agree on a lot of things, but I respect that you want to serve the school. John, thank you for doing your job. I do think you have a ton to bring to this school, and I wish you could stay. I came here in February and spoke and asked for transparency from the leadership and transparency from the board. I don't agree with John on everything, but that is the one thing that it seemed like he was trying to do, was communicate with teachers, communicate with parents, and one-on-one. I still don't feel like we're getting that from the board. It's really hard to know when these things are happening. It's really hard to communicate with you all. It's really hard to send an email and get an email back from one person on a one-on-one dialogue. We need more open communication. The answer to this parent-run social media problem is not restrictions. In the world of free speech, it's not restrictions. It's more dialogue. It is more in-person communications and more opportunity for in-person communication. I wholeheartedly hope that we keep the Hillsdale affiliation. It is a two-way discussion. If we don't, we can find a path forward, but that has to be through open dialogue, through open communication with, whether it's our new principal leading us in some sort of journey to help us choose a path together, but it has to happen in the open with parents, teachers, and everyone involved. And I just implore you to try to find a way, and if you need ideas, you know I have them, and I will help you organize them, and I will do whatever it takes. I take task direction very well, and I can sell. I can communicate, so happy to do it. Happy to lead however you see appropriate. Use me and I will help. So thank you for your time in this thankless job that you're doing.
Lisa Dillman?
Some of you know me. I'm Lisa Dillman. I don't have a filter. I tried to use it today. Okay, I want to say thank you to Randy and John for all you guys did and are doing. I want to say I'm very disappointed in the board's decision about John Wu's position. With him, we have someone who really truly cares for our school and has a brain and a heart. He has a very big talent, exactly something what we as a school need to move forward. He has a very good vision, and somehow some teachers, some parents, some staff still don't understand, and they kind of, I don't know, I feel like you guys, everybody knows this TDS syndrome. I feel like that's a JDS syndrome kind of starting to become. It is. Because everybody like starts hating. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Here's this guy trying to help us, pulling out crap we would not know until this day if it wouldn't be for John. You guys don't know, this is nothing starting since December. This has been going for years. Yes. You guys are acting like this just started over something. No, it's been years. You guys have to stop like acting like John comes here and he's like, you know, like wanna hurt us. He wants to help us. Like seriously, like, man. Anyways, he has really good vision, and we had very big hopes of him. Now we're paying $50,000 since his contract will end before his actual date. And why? Right? Why? Because we have a few people yipping and yapping, kind of, again, sorry, this TDS syndrome. I already said that. John keeps us in the loop and updates us constantly, which I really appreciate, and it's really important for me as a parent, because that was the issue prior, all the years prior, there was never transparency. I feel like we get a lot of emails, you know, from John, and I really, really appreciate it, and I feel I know so much more just because of that. We need this kind of transparency because it was the trust we had in the school years ago was lost, you know, and with all that stuff, what John does, it kind of starts to come back, right? I mean, I already have really big trust back, gained back. We're teaching our kids about virtues and values, and yet certain people don't even give Mr. Wu a chance to deliver what we so desperately need and what he was hired for. He was hired not to start changing everything. Nothing happens overnight. Everything needs work, but if nobody gives him a chance, how is he supposed to do anything? How? I mean, everybody, like how nobody changes nothing. There's no president changing shit overnight. There's no John Wu, no Randy, nobody. We gotta just sometimes step back and make sure it's still for our kids and we have, you know, somebody who is willing to do that. Thank you.
We still have 40 seconds.
Ooh, hold on. Anyways, we gotta make sure we're, you know, obviously we're all here for the kids. We're all here because we do like the Hill Sale thing. I also know that since February 26th, even non-member schools would get everything we're already getting from them regardless. So, you know, if we would lose the membership status, we still would get everything we have right now. Right? Sure, we don't want to lose it, but if it wouldn't be, I don't know, the end of the world because we still have everything we have right now. Thank you.
Sorry about the horn.
Oh yeah, I thought that's like, wait.
The next comments from Ethel Wu. It looks like there's 3 people who signed up who are ceding their time to Ethel. So Katie, Kathy Margeva, Taryn, do you all agree to cede any time to? I just didn't want you to be interrupted.
I appreciate that.
3 minutes, so go ahead.
Okay, I just want to start by saying this is me talking, not John. So that is where I want to start. Members of the board and LCCA community, my name is Ethel Wu, and I am the wife of the executive director, John Wu, whom the board has chosen to, quote, terminate without cause at a non-regularly scheduled board meeting earlier this month. I'm going to stand over here and stand. Doesn't need to be. I wanted to take this opportunity to say that I am appalled by the way many of the members of the board, and I'm going to call them out, Skylar, Matthew, and Ellen, have treated my family. Our family has been involved with Lake Country Classical Academy since before it opened. My children cleaned out this building's nurse's office when these hallways had exposed ceilings, and it was a week from our anticipated start date, and we weren't even sure LCCA was going to open. All of my school-aged children have been enrolled in LCCA. We have 6 small children. The oldest is 11. My mother volunteered in classrooms. My sister-in-law was a substitute teacher. Prior to being the executive director, my husband served on the board of LCCA. I bring this up to say my family has been invested in this school from the beginning. It was during John's term that our board faced a daunting situation. Data provided incontrovertible proof LCCA was on the road to collapse. Enrollments plummeted, waitlists evaporated. The board knew they needed to act. And in response to this reality, the board asked and unanimously voted to have my husband lead the change. Why? Why was he the one chosen? Because for over 2 decades on Wall Street and in finance, John's job and businesses have been in restructuring failing companies and growing thriving ones. My husband even sat in meetings with Donald Trump to restructure Trump's companies. John did not need to come here, but the school we'd fallen in love with needed help, so we uprooted our lives to answer that call. We talked to numerous parents. We heard from current and former teachers. We had our children in these classrooms. John offered to talk to anyone about anything at any time. Just call. Call his personal cell. And he answered those calls. Who here has given their personal cell? Who here has arranged their entire lives, the lives of their children, changed where they were living in order to help this school? We proved a level of commitment to this school through our actions. My husband walked these halls every day because the decision makers needed to get to the heart of what was going on. Oh, and he discovered what was going on. Non-compliance with the law, that was going on. But even more painful for us, he discovered a culture of bullies. Gossip. Good, virtuous teachers have left this school because of a clique of bullies. Bullying teachers, bullying parents. This is toxic. At the last board meeting, some of these same teachers even heckled parents. They have created a serious threat to our school that goes beyond a culture problem. It extends to our school's legal status. Within a few weeks of his start date, John uncovered that our school had not been DPI compliant for years. This is a major issue. We've handed the left a legal reason to shut us down. We need to become DPI compliant ASAP. So John told you. Tom Gale, a former board member, spoke at the last board meeting and said, hey guys, we could lose our ability to operate. Not Hillsdale member, Hillsdale curriculum, but as a school itself. We are not in compliance with Wisconsin state law. You were put on notice, and your response was, let's wait. Well, if you want to know the actual quote, it was, nothing has happened for 5 years. What's a little bit more going to matter? If you found out that your high schooler was driving without a license, would you say, let's drive a little longer. We'll take care of it later. No, you would rectify it immediately. In case you didn't know, our lack of DPI compliance at East is a direct result of our current assistant principal not being a licensed administrator. We need East to have an assistant principal with a license to be a legally operating school. Analytically, there is no choice but to immediately replace unlicensed Cami Joy with licensed Autumn Young. There is a clear path. John figured it out. He communicated it. He created a budget where both continue to have a place and a title at LCCA. So why hasn't this change happened? Because of external bullying and internal bullying. Internally, teachers are picking sides. Teachers are threatening to leave if we take action to comply with the law. The factions run that deep, and I am calling it out because thus far it hasn't been said clearly enough for you to act. You, the board, are risking the school by leaving our DPI status non-compliant with the law. We can be shut down, and bullies win when people at the top don't stop them, and you, the board, have been and are risking our school because you aren't standing up to the bullies. And from what I see, and what others here have mentioned, the bullying goes beyond our school walls to Hillsdale. Hillsdale knows we aren't in compliance. They advised us as a school to wait. Randy has openly communicated over and over again to Hillsdale, as he has with everything else. Let me say it another way. In response to Randy saying, Hillsdale, we are not in compliance with the law, Hillsdale has said, break it! And we're listening to them. I just talked to a former Hillsdale school in Texas who said they chose not to remain a Hillsdale school because Hillsdale wanted them to break Texas law. Does it sound familiar? This is a pattern of behavior. But luckily for those families in that state, their board made a choice and a decision to leave. If Hillsdale had been silent on the executive director position, a position that exists at other Hillsdale member schools, they didn't create this. This is a thing at Hillsdale schools. I don't think John would have been terminated. Hillsdale made a demand. You heard it read at last board meeting. When Hillsdale said, eliminate the position of the executive director, did anyone on the board say to Hillsdale, it wouldn't be right? Our school was failing, so we unanimously asked him to come. And it's a good thing we did, because he discovered problems that need to be rectified, including legal infractions no one else has uncovered. Did you say, it wouldn't be right? He's made huge sacrifices to be here. His family has incurred tens of thousands of dollars of cost to help us, not to mention their time. Let's just do him the courtesy of at least hearing what he's learned, and then we'll decide. No, you didn't. You were too afraid to stand up for what was the decent thing to do. Now, we just had a gala. A team of amazing parents pulled it off, thank you. Tickets were free for teachers to attend, and no surprise, not a single one of that bullying faction of teachers showed up. At the event, over $100,000 was raised, as you heard, raised by donors who heard from John and gave because of what he said. They gave because the creation of his position was a manifestation of a change that they believed was desperately needed at this school. And less than 10 days passed between that gala and your not regularly scheduled termination meeting. Major donors have asked for their money to be returned. They feel tricked. And I can't speak for you, hon, but I feel tricked too. Tricked into thinking the leaders of the school were working as a team, tricked into thinking they would stand up for what's best for the school, tricked into thinking they wanted what was best for our children. Why was my husband terminated without even a conversation? He asked for the meeting to be done in open session, and the board denied it. Were you afraid to hear from him when all he's said since day one is, if you have a problem, anyone at the school, with anyone or anything about LCCA, talk to me. Why didn't you have a conversation? Someone so willing to give up so much. That's the person you chose to steamroll. Either you didn't think it through, or you felt you had no choice. And if you didn't think it through, the virtuous thing to do is apologize. But I think you did think it through. I think you felt like this was a quick way to calm the loud voices. And as classical scholars know, history repeats itself, and I will refer to this moment in LCCA history as a Pontius Pilate solution. Sacrifice the innocent to appease the loud. John is another victim of this school's bullying underbelly. And I know he is resilient, and he is amazing, and he can handle it. But he shouldn't have had to. As Aristotle said, courage is the first of human qualities because it is the quality which guarantees the others. and you have not acted with courage. To terminate without a conversation in an irregularly scheduled, closed board meeting is the embodiment of cowardice. You were afraid and you hanged a good person out to dry and swept the problems you asked him to discover. You didn't know were there. You swept them back under the rug. The solution is to do what is true, what is good, what is beautiful. The solution is to acknowledge that there is a problem and to stand up to the bullies, because if you don't, there will be more innocent victims. Teachers, staff, and worst of all, students who are hurt because you chose the easy path instead of what is right. And I just wanted to end by thanking those of you who ceded me your time. I know I had a lot to say, and you gave me the voice. You are the heart of this school, and I am grateful for everything you've done and all of your sacrifices.
Yes. Now it's President's Report. We will move on to number 5, the President's Report. Does anybody else want to say anything? If you do, the slips are up here, just in case somebody had something. That we got to take. I was shared a letter from Skylar that he sent to the board, or no, I'm sorry, he did not send it to the board, he sent it to you.
Point of order, Vice President, you need to finish this section first.
Ada.
I have one more thing to
Sorry.
say. No, it's okay. I want us to remember the outcome. What is the reason we send our children to a school like Lake Country Classical Academy? I am currently a non-traditional student at UW Milwaukee. I see what woke ideology looks like in person. And students who come to Lake Country Classical Academy have solid foundations, and they understand that Western civilization is a net positive. And when they walk into a state university, because maybe that's all their family can actually afford, they will be able to tell when ideas are authentic because they've handled authentic ideas, and they will be able to tell the counterfeit ideas because they've handled the authentic ideas. And that is the long-term goal. And I have been praying for years for the right people to be running the school. We serve a God. Anyone can believe whatever they believe, but we serve a God, and prayer is the way that we fight all our battles. And I am fighting this battle on my knees, and I'm not the only one. So you guys have to remember that you're not just up against flesh and blood. We are dealing with powers and principalities and rulers in dark places. And there is the heart of our children is what's being attacked, and the future of this nation. And I, for one, want my children to have something that they can live for and pass on to their children. Thank you.
Thank you. My apologies, I thought you were writing him a note. So I'm looking on the screen. Anyway, moving on to the President's Report. Obviously, in the intervening time, I don't recall if you said this in your thing, you had stepped down from the President's role upon the successful completion and hiring of Dr. Galster. So when Dr. Galster accepted and signed the contract, Mr. Godsell stepped down as president, as he indicated he would, and is remaining on the board. And at that time, which was just last week, Skylar File became the board president. So he is not here to run this meeting, but he did send his a letter that will be in lieu of his president's report, and I will go ahead and read that to you now. And I'm just seeing this, so hopefully I can read it well. Dear LCCA community, on behalf of the board, I am pleased to officially welcome Don Galster as the next head of school beginning July 1. Dr. Galster brings a deep passion for students, a strong commitment to academic excellence, and enthusiasm for our mission that was evidenced throughout the search process. The board is excited about the future of our school under his leadership and is confident that he will build strong relationships across our entire community. Dr. Galster has already begun spending time on campus, including a visit this past Friday, and he will continue to be present weekly throughout May and June. Beginning in June, he will spend additional time on campus working closely with school leadership to support a smooth and thoughtful transition. During this transition period, Dr. Galster's presence on campus is intended to help foster strong relationships and build trust with faculty, staff, students, and families before officially assuming the head of school role on July 1. Meaningful leadership begins with listening, learning, and being present within the community. By spending time on campus throughout May and June, Dr. Galster will have the opportunity to meet with the LCCA team, better understand the culture and traditions of the school, and work collaboratively to ensure a smooth and positive transition. We are encouraged by the openness, enthusiasm, and thoughtful approach he has already demonstrated in these early interactions and are grateful for his eagerness to engage with students, staff, and families even before his official start date. I also want to express our gratitude to John Wu for his willingness to support Dr. Galster during this transition period. Leadership transitions are never easy, and we are thankful for his commitment to the school and its students. Because the board's decision regarding leadership changes has understandably generated questions, I also want to provide additional context regarding the actions taken at our May 4th board meeting. The board's highest priority at the meeting was securing Dr. Galster as our next head of school and ensuring he could be in the role on July 1. As we worked through that process, we determined that this goal conflicted directly with the term of John Wu's existing contract. Specifically, the contract did not allow the board to remove or materially change John's leadership responsibilities without placing the school in breach of contract. After careful consideration, the board concluded that the clearest and most responsible path forward was to exercise the contractual provision allowing termination without cause. While the board could have attempted to negotiate modifications to responsibilities following the May 4th meeting, doing so created substantial uncertainty regarding our ability to finalize Dr. Galster's appointment for July 1, while also avoiding a breach of contract. Ultimately, the board believed it was essential to provide clear leadership and certainty for the school and move decisively to secure Dr. Galster's leadership for the upcoming school year. These decisions were not made lightly. The board understands the impact leadership transitions can have on a school community, and we approach this process with a focus on the long-term success and stability of LCCA. I also want to share that I have been in ongoing dialogue with Hillsdale College regarding our status as a member school. While Hillsdale has not communicated a final or definitive decision regarding our relationship, recent conversations have been constructive and encouraging. In particular, Hillsdale has offered to provide training opportunities for our faculty and staff this summer. I view this as a positive development and an indication that productive collaboration continues. While we will not speculate on any future decisions before they are formally communicated, we are encouraged by the continued engagement and support being extended to our school community. I am deeply optimistic about the future of our school. We are grateful for the dedication of our faculty and staff to support our families and the enthusiasm our students bring to campus every day. Most importantly, we are excited for the opportunities ahead as we begin this next chapter under Dr. Galster's leadership. Thank you for your continued trust, partnership, and commitment to LCCA. Sincerely, Skylar File, LCCA Board President.
Will that be emailed out at all or no? Or is it strictly for today?
No, it certainly can be.
I'm just curious. Thank you.
We could attach it to the agenda.
Sure, yeah. Oh, thank you, what?
We could attach it to the agenda.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's a great idea. And just so you know, Ms. Pluta, any communication, any correspondence, anything that is done by any member of this body is available. It is a public record, it is created as a public record, and it doesn't need to have an open records request to be provided. We are to be open and transparent, and I want everyone to understand that, because I'm not sure that everyone does. It's unique to this school, as opposed to private schools, but everything and anything from any member, staff, teachers, leadership, board, it's all public records. Okay, so moving on from the president's report, we're going to go into the executive director's report.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
John?
Usually I have a presentation prepared with some updates and such, but I thought this one, given what has transpired, I mean, really I did submit one to Georgia as the presiding vice president in the absence of the president. That'll have the typical financials and various just historic numbers that have always been there that roll forward. And really I think the focus now going forward is transitioning to Dr. Don Galster. Well, I was thinking a lot about what to report on for that. So, because we seem to have gotten as a community into the habit of being able to really latch on to some headline narratives. My nature is I don't like sitting in problems. I tell my kids that all the time. I have learned along the way and been conditioned and to have the experience to want to look at the good parts of all sides and figure out how to make them work. LCCA has so many good things, and we've had a lot of missteps along the way. And there's so much we've just been fighting for so long. There are times I don't even understand what's the outcome of the fight that anyone is trying to go after. I'm thinking about these things because it's important for a transition. Dr. Galster, to be clear, I like him. I like him from the moment that I got to meet him. I think he's going to be good for the school. We finally had an opportunity to meet. I usually go the route of, assume the best and let something prove me wrong along the way. He hasn't proven me wrong. Happy about that. We started talking through some things. Well, actually, firstly, I invited him. We did a thank you lunch for the incredibly dedicated, I would say, heroic parent group that put on the gala. And we did a thank you lunch for them. I invited Dr. Galster, and he was very happy to attend. And it was very engaging. It took more time than I think he had originally scheduled for. I've noticed he really likes to eat. So it's good to see.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's outcomes, the things that you do. And then we got a chance to sit down for a couple hours and started going through the school. I put it out to him, he's experienced, thankfully. There was this comment about how we've gotten ourselves in the habit of having a school run by people that have run school before, namely director than me, just to put it out there. The thing is, we've had a habit of doing that. No one that's ever run this school has ever run a school before. I'm glad we've changed that. He has. There's lots of experience coming from that one. And I said to him, you've done this many times, done it in many settings. Done it at Pilgrim Park, part of Elmbrook, strong community. He's done it at his latest school, the Mission. Honestly, the first time I met him and talked to him, I heard about his background and sort of felt bad that we got him. He's done really great work there. He's dealt with situations where, I think he said, last year, 6 of his kids got shot, killed. Not at the school, but in the community. Anyone that can figure that out, hats off. I couldn't do that. So I put it to him, I said, you've done this many times. What's the, how do you prefer to do this? What do you want to know? And I think I started knowing him a little bit. You kind of want to think about it. And I also told him, okay, no, think about whatever you like. Take whatever time you need. My view on this is that I want to do everything possible to position him for his best success here. Whatever I can do. Because certainly our children deserve that. He came back with a list yesterday. It's a pretty big one. it's a really good one. Not that I expected anything less, but it was really good. And I was looking through some things and I started preparing them. So just so you know, we have that going on. There's a lot of detailed things, as you would expect, budgeting, staff roster, so on and so forth, contracts, vendors, that whole gamut of things. And then just general discussion, things that have been going on, experience. And I was putting a lot of thought into thinking about how to do that because he's coming in fresh. Lots of good things about that. My family's been here since the beginning, as with many of you. Fortunately, less than there have been, but less than there were, but many of you. And thinking about what to say, what's good to have him know. And so I started thinking about that. I started gathering and compiling the data and the numbers and spreadsheets and old files and new files, all this sort of thing. Started looking at things. And talked about how I'm an analyst. So let's talk about some numbers. There are some things that stood out. And frankly, it's a little bit difficult. Like I said, I don't like sitting in problems. I like finding the good. I like trying to figure out how to move on. I would like to just say, okay, we're going to move forward. Everyone's decision is their own. And if you choose to stay here, by all means, please, continue to do your best. I'd say make it known what you would like. What are the outcomes that you want the school to go after? Don't be shy about saying that. And then do your best. And I'd like to leave it at that. But I was looking at all this information, and it's looking at some things that stood out. And it's a little bit hard not to be upset, frustrated. Okay, I'm a little bit angry. $119,965. Does anyone care to guess what that is?
Can you say the number again?
$119,965. You don't know what that means, because why would anyone here know? That number represents the amount of money that has been spent in the last 2 school years on legal fees. Don asked for vendor payments that we've paid out in the last bit of time. There's a saying in that corporate world, which I know corporate is different than education, as I've been told over and over again, but I still think this applies. If you had to get the lawyers involved, you lost a long time ago. We spent a lot of time talking about contracts. We're just getting ourselves into this habit of making about a contract, making about employment, throw one single number out there. We're going to ultimately get fixated on this, and a lot of things will get swept under the rug. And so I would like to not do that for once. Well, let's talk about contracts, because that's actually important. I put together an actual contract when Randy suggested this, and we talked about what was the purpose of doing this. Oh, also somewhere along the line, another popular narrative about roles and responsibilities, and we seem obsessed about hierarchies and control and who has authorities and all that. Yeah. Firstly, this role didn't have a job description because no one puts in a job description, we have problems, we don't have answers, there's no strategy, fix it. You don't put that in a job description. Also, anyone that's ever been in a leadership role that holds the ball on decision making, you know that there's no limit on the effort that you put in to lead. It doesn't exist. And you also know that no one manages successfully to a job description. And anyone who thinks that that's the case, yeah, go on to something else. You're not going to fail now, you'll fail later. So use your time. Because that's definitely one thing we don't get back. Ever. Oh yeah, contrast. Sorry, I've been told I kind of like weave a little bit, and then also, but then people like the canned itself. But I know there's 2 different versions, and hopefully this one goes okay. in making the contract that I did, to be clear, it's the only contract that's actually ever been in place in this entire organization. I would like the teachers to know, because a lot of you, like, I'm sorry that you've been mixed up in a lot of this stuff. I'm sorry there's so much uncertainty. And I know you've done so much good work. You've left the ones that we were fortunate to have were our own children. You have left lifelong impressions. And I thank them for it. You know, one thing about contracts, so you can understand, and because people talked about the risks of taking on these things, and this is something that I need to explain to Dawn, as well as part of our download and just the philosophy of how things have transpired. A risk that was taken in not having liquidated damages and holding teachers' feet to the fire to stay if you do not want to. I think I've taken, for the people that have asked, I've sat down and had the conversation. The general philosophy that I was going by with organizations is that the only thing that is holding you to an organization, especially having to do with education and our children, is a few $1,000s, well then move on. It's better for everyone. We're not the fit, and that's okay, because we'll figure it out. But I want the teachers, whether or not you've agreed with me, disagreed with me, loved me, hated me, anything, I want you to understand, you never had any protection in the first place. Your contracts were not contracts, they are agreements. This is an at-will state. You also implicitly or explicitly agreed to the handbook, which states that you are an at-will employee. You are subject to be terminated at any time. That has always been the case. I'll throw out this to you. Because Don was, he needs to know where people are coming from. I would always encourage, since we're so much time talking about contracts, encourage you to pursue better for yourself. It keeps people in check. It has people think about what's best for an organization. Organizations are hard. There is no formula. Companies, schools succeed, they fail all the time. There's no way that just guarantees success. You're always constantly learning. We tell our kids every day, constantly learn. We want them to constantly learn, grow, learn. Yeah, there's no roadmap that guarantees anything. But demand better for yourself, always. Ask of it. And when it comes to something like this, phone number's already out there, and just to be clear, feel free to give me a call. I'm happy to help you. Even if you haven't liked me, haven't disagreed with me, that's fine. I'll walk you through it. It'll be better for this school, so I'm all for it. Just a personal note, I appreciate all the comments, all the sentiments from everyone. You are my friends, my kids' friends. I appreciate all this. I know the heart that it comes from, but I'm supposed to not really let that come into play in this particular seat. But sentiments. I appreciate the president of the board sentiments. I echo the sentiments about Dr. Galster. I'm excited for him. With respect to me, talk about May 4th and trying to put it, the reason for the decision is a procedural one and down to contracts. Here's the thing. I appreciate the comment. Familiar with those. There was a time in my life when I was working on some companies, when companies got more than 1,000 employees and you have to sort of sit down with them and give them bad news. I wasn't very good at trying to figure that out. So you end up writing these things and you send out these emails and you try to have a sentiment that feels good to people. Yeah, it took a while to learn how to do that better. I would almost think of it as sincere, except a couple days ago I also got that the whole breach of contract reason was the impetus for doing things in this particular way. I would almost think it's sincere, except I got an email a couple days ago telling me or almost directing me as to how I should be doing things for the next couple of, next month and a half. Which if you want to talk about breach of contract, I know that one's a breach of contract if it goes through. Here's the thing. So, speaking of breach of contract and contracts, because I would like people to know and not get mixed up in some narrative in which we will inevitably just go down that road. All right. You don't need to go to law school to know that the easiest way to not breach a contract, talk to the other guy on the other end and have a discussion. Yeah, I wrote an agreement, that is a contract. It has terms, it has authorities. Why are they there? Okay. I thought I would go about this thing usually how I do and talk about the reasons and try to explain something and try to go through logic and all this sort of thing. We are evidently way past that. So, but if anyone would care to have that discussion, I'm always happy to offline. Randy and I talk a lot about what needed to be there, the authorities. I have unilateral authority by this board agreed to hire and fire anyone. That was important for a lot of things. It was actually for a different reason. And then everything changed the moment that we put everything in place, but the authority stayed intact. Last I checked, I don't think I indiscriminately went on a clean house raid, as does happen, because this is complicated. This is the education of our children. You know, a lot of times when these type of things happen, everyone wants to say it's not personal. Yeah, to me, okay, we can, in this role, it's not personal. This is the education of our children. They're the hopes and the aspirations. It doesn't get more personal. You know, to take a step back and just, let's not make it all about me. One of the things I've been wanting to get off my chest before we get into actually some specifics. And my wife mentioned this about, who do you want on your team? I'm always the biggest team player out there. We raise our children according to that. But who do you want on your team? You know, Randy, he's become an extension of our family, being on the other end of the phone for the last 4 months. All 6 of my children know who's calling because, we've spent more time on the phone than I think we have with our wives. Frankly, and it's been a pleasure. Randy is the type who's never going to say this. The man has managed $5 billion. You don't need to understand what that actually means. It takes a lot of work to get there and figure that out and feel a lot of stress. But what should be understood is that when you do that, what that represents is the hopes and the dreams and the aspirations, the tuitions, the weddings of tens of thousands of Americans. You are the steward of those things for those people. People that get to that level of responsibility, they don't choose to do this, ever. You write the checks, and then you go yell at some people when there's a problem and it's not going your way. You do it because it's easier. And you're also not generally used to dealing with frustration all the time. You want to keep things moving forward. You want to make progress. You want to be successful. You don't want to bang your head against a brick wall all the time like we do in education. So this guy chose to do this. Last I checked, from the time of being here since the beginning, he was the first one that actually did it and listened. Somehow he became the problem. I don't really know how that works. I don't really know how a lot of these decisions have been made. I don't understand how May 4th, there's just a horrendous way of going about things. I structured things into a contract assuming a wide variety of outcomes, knowing this one would happen as well, which is fine. I just didn't think it would go there. Because why would you? The whole point of doing it is to, again, have a conversation. Contracts, breach of contract. Don't want to have a breach? Talk to the other guy. Knows how to put a contract in place, also knows how to unwind it, knows how to modify it, knows how to change things. Hire Dr. Galser? Yeah, I'm all for it. I really like the guy. He's going to be good for this school. Maybe the board couldn't have hired it. Yeah, if it was directly correction to the characterization of not being able to hire him. Couldn't have hired him in the way that you wanted to, in whatever driver, in whoever was driving that specific want. I don't need to speculate. I could have hired him. Someone could have asked. There's this other concept of also delegating authorities. I don't know why that's so difficult to understand. Ask the question, will you delegate this authority, whether it's in the moment, the next week, the next month? Yeah, I could say yes to that. That's the point of doing these things. It wasn't about holding authorities for the sake of doing it and having them. It's about having the conversation because we need to think about these things that we're doing. It's not a narrative. It's not black or white. Other numbers I was coming upon while I was putting things together for Don. Because I was thinking about how, I want to be clear. I think what Hillsdale's taking on is a great thing. We need that. You're a conservative organization backed by $1 billion of a foundation. They're trying to spread this education out there. It's a really good thing. I applaud it, I commend it, I hope there's more of it. I only want them to be more successful with it, to be clear. You can have a great organization that wants to do great, amazing things. That doesn't mean they have any idea how to actually do it. And they learn it along the way. It was interesting. Apparently I have this propensity for research, so I'm told. Called Founders Academy in Texas. Happens to be the one Katie O'Toole ran. She left in 2019. There were 6 Founders Academies now. She left. There's no more Hillsdale affiliation there. But if you look at the website, it'll be something familiar. They have 19 schools now. Interesting. But frankly, however, to get to the outcome of spreading this type of education, yeah, let's go for it. All for it. All of it. Let's do that. I wanted to look back at years before, we could talk about how recently it's been a lot of noise, a lot of disagreements. That changes things. So let's look at 24, 25 before any of this stuff happened. During when I guess people would probably argue we were in the utopian world of single school leader organizational makeup. By the way, I'm not saying that it can't work, but it doesn't necessarily mean it works all the time. So, $119,965. No one knows what that means. I didn't expect anyone to. Here's another one. Minus 58.3%. And a 1 to go with that. Minus 72.1%. Lowest grade you can get is a 0. So, I'll give you a hint. It's not a grade. What that represents is between going from 2024 to 2025, that is the drop-off of our wait list from K through 12, 58.3%. But I think more standout is a drop-off of this school's wait list from grades 1 to 5 of 72%. That's what was going on before any of this stuff happened. And I remember this board because I was on it. We talked about these things. There are a lot of statistics that brought up. There's a lot of emotion tied to things. We had a family survey. A lot of things came out. There was a lot of drama around it. There was a lot of legal stuff. Again, once the law gets involved, we've all lost. Trying to get what the original survey feedback was and all that, and there were some notable comments. But I'll tell you for me what was the most notable statistic that came out of that, and that was the faculty survey. 68%. Anyone have any idea what that is? Any parent, would you jump up and down if your kids brought home a 68? Check. 68% was a percentage of faculty that feel comfortable bringing concerns to administration. There is no organization on the face of the planet that is going to survive in the long term if your people do not feel comfortable voicing concerns. So back then, that was the thing that stood out. I can say, okay, a lot of other things, there's noise, there's emotion, okay, fine. Difference of opinion, okay, fine. But when you see that, that's a problem. And we were trying to address it. And we were trying to address it in the best way, to treat people with the most respect and to always listen to both sides. Fortunately, we didn't quite get there. Got caught up in a lot more noise. And we seem to be getting back into the ways of making decisions that led us to the problem. Put some narratives out there, focus on that, sweep it under the rug, think that we're moving on. Again, I really like Don. I'm going to work on, between now and June 30th, give him every possible information, background, at his direction, how he chooses, and anything that I can find helpful, I'm going to give it to him. I hope as a board, I hope as an organization, we can look at this and say, this was bad decision making, kind of horrendous. There's all the ability to do otherwise. All you have to do is have a conversation. Maybe the person that figured out how to put the one contract that's ever existed in this place knows how to get around it. And just talk about it. But for whatever reason, the decision was to just agree to pay. Pay to go away. Here's another one, $7,000. After about 6 weeks of a lot of adversity and a lot of animosity, a lot of disagreements, got the teachers separately, different campuses, got them in a room, asked them how they would like to prioritize budget. Even the ones that were most adversarial on January 7th would say it was the first time that they really had the opportunity to do that. These are the people that touch our kids the most, spend the most time with them. At the West Campus, they're very organized, put together a good list. 5 things. Number 1, in their own classrooms. I didn't appreciate how stacked up everyone was. Oof, it is tough. So I get that. That's a big endeavor. That's a separate thing. We'll get that. Number 2, they want the kids to have their books of classical literature to annotate, to write notes, to learn better. One would say that might improve academic fidelity. From about March to the end of this year, how much does that cost in replacement value for those books? $7,000. Yeah, it did that. That was an easy decision. What does it cost for an entire year? $16,000. So here's the thing. Board's job is not to be operational. You're not supposed to get involved with those things. However, board's job can be to ensure the highest potential of academic fidelity and pursuit of mission for the interests of our children. That a board is responsible for. I didn't look at that event. I got a lot of thank yous for that one, even from people that arguably hated me the most, and Randy, probably Randy more so. But I didn't look at that as a victory. In fact, it was more so a head scratcher. How the heck have we not done this in 5 years? And it's just reflective of, we set up a system that we just don't even know. Like, that's the reality. We got wait list numbers or lack thereof. We have faculty feedback when there wasn't any noise. We have things that we now know that we didn't, that are actually directly impactful for our children. We're just not fighting about it. I've said this so many times over the last however bit of time, and even Don and I were kind of talking about it. Energy, passion, it's a great thing, so focus in on the right stuff. Here's the thing. Everyone makes mistakes, always will, perfectly fine. Important thing, learn from them. I got an amazing family, I'm gonna be okay. But I hope we learn, I hope we do better. Do better for Don. Our kids deserve it. So, that's a transition.
All right, so John, I've got 3 questions. This is in regards to a couple of updates. And if you did already provide this to Georgia, then maybe Georgia, you can send that to us. But where do we stand on enrollment and wait lists at this time?
Enrollment wait list, I think pretty similar last month. We were just putting together, we'll send a further update, but it's not, maybe some things to note, some things have changed up and down.
Okay, and
More
then
specifics.
last month, there were some teachers and staff who had not received agreements or contracts. Where do we stand now that we're at the end of the school year? Where do we stand in terms of those people either being informed that they're let go or having been received a agreement or contract?
I mean, there have been a couple offers of additional staff. There was some that was pending some discussion. People had desired certain levels of compensation, and we had discussion around that. So there were 2 more staff that were subsequently offered this week. There's some faculty, which I didn't say that the discussion, the way that had worked and was legally vetted, the conversation wasn't that anyone was terminated, but it was at that present time we weren't ready to offer. And I would say it's still not ready.
Is there anybody that hasn't received either a letter of termination or an agreement?
We haven't done things as far as letter of termination because there's no termination. We have fixed contracts for the balance of that go year to year. There's no obligation on our half as vetted by council that we have to offer extensions or we have to notify of anything.
So how many teachers or staff are still in limbo?
In limbo in what way?
Well, that they haven't received.
They have a contract that has a term, and if they weren't offered another one for next year, well then their current one goes to term. So I don't know if that's in limbo.
So has anybody so anybody who hasn't either received confirmation that they're not being brought back, written or otherwise, or has received an extension of their agreement or contract?
Well, let's see.
How many people are wondering if they have a job next year?
Well, if I haven't extended so there were 2. I think I put on the previous report that there were 2 that were of existing teaching faculty that weren't offered yet for next year. And that is still the case, so that hasn't changed. And then for staff, there is 3. One currently was talking about and had to do with, we're talking with them, had to do with the flexibility that they need, and others still pending discussion. And Don and I have it on our list to talk about.
Is there a reason why over the last month you haven't made decisions about those 5 staff members?
A lot of things to be decided on. It's weighing what is in the best interest of the school.
Okay. Oh, that's it. Thank you.
No, I don't have anything.
Do you have any questions of the executive director? Yeah, bringing a little humor to the table. Okay. I guess we can go on.
Mm-hmm.
New business?
I just had to make sure everybody's aware, so I did send an email out today. The board has a new support staff member from Hillsdale. So all the board members will have received that. Colin Mullaney has moved on to supporting principals, and so he'll be working with Don Galster. And then let me get his name in front of me here. Michael Osborne is our new support person, so I sent his contact information out to everyone. He was recently employed by Hillsdale.
Is he governance or operations?
Governance.
Governance, okay.
Ben Payne still around?
What's that?
Is Ben Payne still around?
That I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while.
I don't know if this is accurate. I heard he's working with heads of new schools, is what I heard.
Oh.
I don't know if that's official.
You had also said, Matthew, that you were part of the Hillsdale Monday call this past Monday. What about the Monday before that?
It's not.
I don't know if one even occurred, but you said you were alone on that call last week. You want to give us an
Sure.
update?
So I'm not a regular attendee unless asked by a board president to hey, can you show up to this? So I was asked by Scholar if I could attend. I ended up being the only board member who was on that call. But it was a very positive call. It was an introduction of Michael Osborne. There are a couple of the typical questions to calls that I know that you've been on, but all basically just very positive, and every indication that, kind of a reinforcement of training that's going to be taking place, their acknowledgement that Don Galster is registered as well as a number of teachers, and their encouragement to have as many of our teachers participate as possible. And they gave every expectation that this was just an ongoing relationship, and that was all good. They did indicate that they had looked at the board website and that wasn't updated yet. That was my responsibility, so I immediately, as soon as that meeting was over, went and updated that website just to reflect that Skyler was now the president and that kind of thing. That was it.
Do you have the ability to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Our website?
Mm-hmm.
You do? Okay.
Well, no, not on my own. I mean, I don't have access to the website. I have to call the school and say,
got it. Okay.
update this title, update that name.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it was updated, so thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have an update for that too.
Yeah, I will also, I guess along those same lines, so Board Docs has also been updated, so as an example, Tom's been removed from Board Docs, roles have been, and Scholar's been given level access, those kind of things, just followed them all from before. Otherwise, that's all.
And it looked like you were with me as well.
You're on, so you went from president level to general
So
board
we're
level.
looking at it. Yeah, okay. So it should be, but I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure it wasn't.
just following protocol.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Did Hillsdale give any indication in the phone call, since they had kind of listed out what they wanted, their demands that we had talked around this table in April about? So now that so many of their demands, if not all, have been met, what did they offer in response or in kind to?
Yeah, great question. They did not specifically or explicitly bring up that list of things that they had provided. There was mention that Katie might draft a follow-up email to us, to the board, to the school. I've not seen that, other than the email from Michelle around invitation to the training.
That we just got.
Yep, and beyond that, it was just a general statement around, I think the school's going in the right direction. What was that?
Not commitment.
Definitely not any kind of you guys are awesome and now you're back to whatever status before. But there was also not a, you're terrible and you're fired kind of thing.
One thing we should, since you are the secretary, one thing we should make sure we put on for next month, and we couldn't because Scott wasn't here, is decision on board members. Do we want to expand the board members? Because we kind of punted on that one, or tabled that one, I should say, not punted.
You bet.
But we should probably, when Skylar gets back, have that discussion.
Absolutely. I think that, let me just double check real quick. I think that is on the draft agenda for next time. Let me just check. So there are several things that have not been decided on in terms of what will be on that agenda, but that includes board member, the makeup of the board, treasurer, who's that? Does Skylar still retain that role or not? But that's something we need to discuss. Board self-assessment, which is something that I understand maybe we have maybe we haven't done in the past, but something that's recommended in the best practices book. Hillsdale training, bylaws and policies review. Ellen had asked that we review our bylaws. and then looking at our policies and saying, are there any policies that we need? Are there any policies that need to be amended? That kind of a thing. That's it.
We
So I don't know if we'll cover that all, but
Yeah.
that's tentatively what what's on our
summer projects.
hit list somewhere. Yeah.
We should probably also review, now that Don's coming, is our board calendar. I know we approved that recently, but I think it could use a more careful look, and maybe Skylar would want to look at that, and then, since Don started, just determine what we really need.
Let me add that right away. Got it, board calendar.
And then we should have a preliminary budget too, I don't know if that's on your list as well. So we have the one we did in March, I think it was, or April, where we're for the faculty budget.
That comes from John?
Or Don now, I guess in conjunction.
And we're gonna be talking about this part
Got
of
that.
that. Our list,
Okay.
we have a whole lot of budgeting.
So we finalize it in October after we know the actual enrollment numbers,
Sure.
but because the school year starts the 30th, Don needs something to operate on,
Sure.
as of July 1st, so that's another thing we should address.
Got it. So that one sounds like probably needs to be a for sure, like we need to put that on there.
We should probably do that one, well, we have to do it next month because it'll kick in July.
Yeah, okay, perfect. June for sure.
Yeah, we're going over the budget in detail, it'll take a while, but,
It's on the list.
yeah, right.
Okay, we'll do.
And I think I'd like to mention also that with Skylar stepping into this role and kind of just the experience this week with what happened here, I have a little bit of concern about the appearance of authorities for some board members that may or may not have them. And I want to make sure that we protect the integrity
For sure.
of the board process and how we do things. And like, as vice president, with him not telling me he wasn't going to be here
Mhm.
at the meeting, he's human. I don't mean to be uber critical, but it would be appropriate and it's expected because there's only certain people that can run the meeting. I'm like, what if I wasn't going to be here and we wouldn't have a quorum? Like he never mentioned it, but then he talked to you. But then you didn't talk to, and then I found out just the other day, so it was just a little, we have to preserve our process and the communication, and again, all of that needs to be as transparent as possible, and that's not a dig in any way, but
Right. I took direction from
it's a learning curve.
you and Skylar at this point. And then it's a good thing I texted you to say.
It's a good thing.
Are you ready? Because I thought I better make sure if she needs anything from me. Good thing I told you.
Thanks. So today was my retirement
Oh,
of a 35-year career in Madison.
Congratulations.
And I
And then you wanted to start a new one? Oh.
yeah. So I had to kind of move some stuff around at the last minute as I was surprised by that. But it's okay. I'm not suspecting that there was anything, and I don't mean it to sound like there was anything negative meant by any of that. So, but obviously being, the watchdog that I am on open meetings and processes and making sure that our community knows, like Ms. Pluto, what you had said, anything that we have, everyone can have at any time, and that goes for everyone in our buildings. So I want to encourage, I think, with the board policies, and I like that you mentioned maybe we'll do a review of those or fine tune them. I think it's been a while since I've looked at them too, but I want to encourage the members of the community and my fellow board members to pay very close attention to what is on the agenda based on some of the comments that I heard here tonight, what we have on our agendas and what is actually being discussed as a board as a whole. And then as a result of that, any action that is taken by the board versus the spin that you hear otherwise. Because there was a lot of comments here tonight of things that I heard for the first time. where did it all start? Where did all the drama come from? Where did all the misinformation come from? Where did anyone ever hear that this board ever talked about not wanting to be affiliated with Hillsdale? Like, that to me still gets me beyond crazy. So somewhere out there, and you know, we can speculate on how the spin occurs, but I think it's imperative that we make sure that we notice and put out there, as we are required to do, with a minimum of 24 hours in advance, which we do. We do. But you need to pay attention to what's on that agenda and what action is taken from that agenda. Because if the action, if there is not a vote, it didn't happen. It doesn't happen because it was listed. It has to be voted on. And there was a particular vote in the last meeting. It was voted on and it was a tie. Therefore, that didn't pass. So, yeah, I don't expect everyone to be parliamentarians and, you know, be familiar with Robert's Rules of Order. But, and by all means, ask anyone at any time. But maybe that can help stem some of the confusion and the, you know, the spinning that happens about what the board did or what it didn't do. Because it should be very clear, and you should be able to go back at any time and see everything on board docs. And like, I'll put that letter in. That should be available for anyone at any time, all the time. And I encourage you, and I encourage you to tell people who aren't here tonight to do that too. And I encourage our leaders in the back too to make sure that the staff are aware too, so that we can keep communication lines open and clear, and so that everybody understands the purpose and the action and what happens and what doesn't happen. So that's how we can, you know, whether it's fact or fiction. And then I also want to caution people, if you get information from an individual board member that may wrongly be representing, not intentionally, but again, sometimes people have different recollections, or they can't remember a vote, or it occurred, you know, in the last couple of months, things have been just happening at such rapid fire that it's hard to really always know off the top of your head. So I just want to make sure that we are speaking with the one voice that is our policy, and that it's agreed upon by everybody, and that we share that, and that we will be doing that going forward. And I'll talk to Skylar about that too. I mean, hopefully he'll watch this meeting and know too, but there's a lot of really good information that I think he needs to be aware of here tonight. And I personally just want to take a moment of personal privilege here to thank everyone for coming tonight and for speaking. And even I could see it's really hard for some people to speak, and that's, I don't ever want you to have a hard time talking to anyone at this table, because that's not how it should be. You should be able to speak and to share your thoughts and your concerns equally. And just want to thank you all for being here to share kind of the other side that we really haven't been hearing a lot of in person. So appreciate that. Is there anything I'm forgetting?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
That's it. Motion adjourned.
Okay, so that concludes new business. So then, yeah, adjournment. Someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Randy gets first. Skylar second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ellen?
Aye, I'm an aye.
Okay. Meeting adjourned at 8:05 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Hang up my